I was sitting at a family wedding on Sunday night when I made the mistake of going on my phone and checking in on Twitter. I was confronted, as I'm sure many of you were, with horrific, heartbreaking, infuriating images straight out of what hell must look like. But it wasn't hell I was looking at. It was Rafah in Gaza. It was a group of burning, bombed-out tents in what was supposed to be a safe zone, if such a thing even exists in Gaza today. I was looking at gruesome images of Palestinian civilians burned alive, grotesque images of Palestinian children in pieces, shocking images of a Palestinian toddler without a head. Think about the astonishingly cruel irony at play here. After October the 7th, a lie went around the world. A lie went viral, with the Israelis falsely claiming that they had found 40 dead babies beheaded by Hamas. Beheaded babies. It wasn't true, it was promptly debunked, and yet it was cynically used for weeks, for months, even today, as part of a pro-Israel PR campaign to justify the ongoing genocidal assault on Gaza. On Sunday night, we saw an actual beheaded baby decapitated by Israeli ordnance, not imaginary beheaded babies, not the ones Joe Biden claimed to have seen pictures of, even though no such pictures exist, because no such beheaded Israeli babies, thankfully, exist. And yet we live in a world where non-existent images of imaginary beheaded Israeli children can help launch a genocidal war, but actual images of real-life beheaded Palestinian children don't force the entire world to bring an immediate halt to that war. Such is the level of Palestinian dehumanization, such is the disregard for innocent Palestinian lives. Now, the response from the Israeli military and the pro-Israel crowd more broadly is, of course, but Hamas. Hamas were firing rockets from near that location. Plus, 2 Hamas commanders were allegedly killed in the Israeli airstrike, so that makes it okay. It makes it legal to attack that location, they say. As the pro-Israel side loves to point out, Article 28 of the 4th Geneva Convention says the presence of a protected person may not be used to render certain points or areas immune from military operations. So it was fine to bomb that Rafah location on Sunday night, they say. Except, as former Biden administration humanitarian official Jeremy Konyndyk, who is now president of Refugees International, as he pointed out, quote, not immune from military operations doesn't mean feel free to bombard a tent camp. Hamas's violations of international law don't magically permit IDF violations. Article 28 is not a hall pass that waives obligations of distinction and proportionality. And yet, Konyndyck's former colleagues in the Biden administration haven't had much to say since Sunday about the horror show in Rafah. Instead, we are greeted with bizarre and offensive headlines about the White House assessing if Israel violated red line with Rafah strike. Bizarre because if massacring a bunch of refugee kids inside of literal tents isn't a violation of the red line on major offensive operations in Rafah, then what on earth is? And offensive because, well, we all know the White House knows that Israel knows it crossed Biden's red line. But the White House would rather pretend it requires some sort of assessment, which won't happen, and is thereby taking us all for fools, offending our collective intelligence. The truth is that what happened in Rafah this past weekend was a reminder, if you still needed one, that there is no red line. There is no pink line. There is no line. There is nothing, it seems, that Israel can do, whether it's bombing a hospital, besieging a church, killing Jose Andreas' World Central Kitchen staff in a humanitarian convoy, or now decapitating small children, that will force Joe Biden's hand or pause US military aid for Israel or make our leaders here in the United States disown Benjamin Netanyahu and his non-stop war crimes. Biden will continue to shamefully fiddle as Rafah literally burns.